What's up, everybody? I'm Alan Seslowsky, and thanks for tuning in to RosterWatch. Examining player props from credible sportsbooks is a useful tool when trying to project players to the highest percentile outcome. Longtime RosterWatch Pro members and newer listeners to our podcast know that that's a key ingredient in our formula. Today we're going to take a look at a few player props and what that might be able to tell us about their projections for the upcoming 2020 season. The first player we're going to look at today is DeAndre Swift, Detroit Lions rookie running back. Now, credible sportsbooks have set his under-over for rushing yards at 625. Now, that might seem a little low at first glance, but let's put that number in perspective. Looking back on 2019 season, Detroit's leading rushers were Kerryon Johnson with 403 yards, Bo Scarborough had 377 yards, and Ty Johnson and J.D. McKissic were both under 300 yards. So what could this tell us about when we look at other players that had similar rushing totals to DeAndre Swift's projection of 625? Well, there's quite a difference when you look at someone like Austin Eckler, who finished as the fourth running back overall and had 557 yards, Devonta Freeman, who finished as the 18th running back and had about 650 rushing yards, and Latavius Murray, who finished as the RB29 in 2019 with 637 yards. That's quite a disparity in ranking based on the rushing yard totals. So what's the difference? Obviously, it's the receptions and the touchdown totals. When looking at DeAndre Swift's projection of about 35 receptions for the season, that closely aligns with Latavius Murray's total of about 30 receptions from the 2019 season. Murray actually caught 34 passes in total and had 6 total touchdowns. So using Latavius Murray's final ranking and final output, which is in line with DeAndre Swift's projection, we can conclude that DeAndre Swift is probably closer to a middling RB3 rather than a high-end RB2, which he's currently being drafted at. It's an interesting piece of the puzzle, and we need to be aware of that as we draft DeAndre Swift, a hot rookie name in 2020 drafts. The next player I want to talk about is another rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the under-over for rushing yards for Taylor is set at around 750 yards. Putting that in perspective from 2019, Marlon Mack, the leading rusher on the team from that season, was almost at 1,100 total rushing yards. Taylor has a reception projection of around 24 receptions and around 7.5 touchdowns. Now, we know the Colts want to run the ball, and we know that Taylor was a high pedigree pick who RosterWatch was very high on. So what can we conclude? Let's look at similar production profiles from 2019. And Ronald Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sticks out. Ronald Jones finished the season with 725 rushing yards and around 31 receptions. He had 6 TDs on the season. Ronald Jones finished as the RB25 on the season. So what does that really tell us? What can we take from this? Taylor reasonably has a top 24 RB floor with upside for more. His ADP has been fluctuating from as high as the second round and now is falling to around the beginning of the fourth round. A very fair price for Taylor. We're still high on Jonathan Taylor, although rookies this season, as we talked about in other podcasts, could have a slow start, but there is a solid floor according to the Vegas under-over total. Before we continue, I just want to give you a quick word about what's going on over at RosterWatch.com. The 2020 RosterWatch Ultimate Draft Cheat Sheet is now available at RosterWatch.com. The revolutionary cheat sheet, which changed fantasy football forever, is back, only at RosterWatch.com. The RosterWatch Ultimate Draft Cheat Sheet, all you need to do is follow 3 simple rules. That's it. 3 rules and an expert quality fantasy football draft is guaranteed. The RosterWatch Ultimate Draft Cheat Sheet, available now at RosterWatch.com. The last player I'm going to talk to you about today is DeAndre Hopkins, now on the Arizona Cardinals. The sports books have Hopkins under-over for receptions at 93.5. Now, Hopkins has been a long-time foundation piece of many of our fantasy teams. His reception totals over the last 3 years were 104, 115 going back to 2018, and 2017 it was 96 receptions. We have long been able to count on 165 targets for Hopkins over the past 3 seasons. Now, examining the Arizona Cardinals from 2019, no player had over 75 receptions. Now, we all know that DeAndre Hopkins is a target hog and is going to come in and completely change the offense. But there is some uncertainty around Hopkins based on his sportsbook new lower than usual reception total. DeAndre Hopkins has long been a first-round pick in fantasy drafts, even going in the top 5 of many competitive leagues over the past few seasons. Hopkins' 2020 ADP is the 15th player overall. That's a high second-round pick in most 12-team leagues. So the market has responded to that Vegas under-over. Hopkins still has top 5 wide receiver upside, but is being priced with the appropriate risk. It's, again, another way that the Vegas totals can help us project players for the 2020 season. Okay, Roster Watch Nation, that's it for today. Remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment in the video. We will comment back. Until next time, goodbye.